With the world upon your shoulders.
Hi, I'm Laura Mvula, and I'd like to introduce you to my unsung studio hero, Troy Miller.
I used to play drums with Amy Winehouse, and when she passed away, I sort of felt quite disillusioned with the music business. But I got a call from Steve Brown, who produced Sing to the Moon, who I'd known for a long time. He sent me this music that just completely blew my mind. I remember listening to some of it in the car on the way to the session, and I remember I missed my turning because I was just so transfixed with this music. And when I got to the studio, it was quite overwhelming for me, really, even though I expected it to be a regular session, but I was kind of completely blown away. I think a few weeks after the session, Laura had asked me to help her put a band together, which was an honour. And then since then we went on the road, and it was sort of a natural progression really from there to then go into the studio.
I think I sort of found my musical soulmate, so to speak. Like, he's the person that understands a lot of who I am musically without having to articulate it or speak it out, which I didn't really have before I met him. So it made sense when I was thinking about a new record after Sing to the Moon that I would start with Troy. And I was like, well, New York. He was like, right, we'll go to New York. And then he managed to get literally the best musicians on the planet on the record. So before I knew it, I was working with John Schofield and the London Symphony Orchestra, who we're very much in love with. The calibre of musicians on the record is just through the roof, and Nile Rodgers as well, who came to us after having heard what we were doing.
With the world upon your shoulders. Nowhere left to hide.
Well, Show Me Love was a turning point for me personally in the studio. Bear in mind that our first day at Sear Sound in New York, which is, by the way, the old hit factory where Stevie Wonder recorded Talking Book. And
Sear Sound is just the most amazing studio. I think we're going to go back there and do the next record. But it's got such an old feeling about the place, but it still feels like you're going to do something exciting there. My famous line apparently is, give me 10 minutes. Yeah. I said, I reckon we've got something. And so I just played and sang the first verse and chorus to Show Me Love. And then we were both sort of weeping after about 30 seconds. It was a time when I was going through the meat of my divorce, or the middle bit. It's just very real and raw, but that's to me what the most magic studio moments are about. He's the only person that can ask me certain questions knowing that they'll make me want to poo myself or just faint. He's the only one that knows how to ask those questions. Troy would be what would be considered old school into the new school, which is he's a producer, but he arranges and he composes, he plays. So his palette is so wide. We have like a team of 6 within the 2 of us.
the live element's been interesting for us, hasn't it? Because sometimes you think about it in the studio, and sometimes you don't think about how you're going to perform it live.
And this happens several times over, where I'll stack up about 50 BVs, an orchestra, and then all kinds of weird sounds, and then be like, oh, live, yeah. I have someone in Troy who he'll go, okay, how can we do this? We always find a way to make the song speak live.
What I do love about producing is sort of making the ultimate out of an artist, making them feel like they've fulfilled their potential. And there have been times where I felt like I've had to sort of rein it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy does it in a way that I don't know that I'm being reined in. which is really clever. Because it's such a vulnerability that, you know, so especially going into a studio space, I'm bringing all of my ideas. Not all of them can be good. So when you're presenting them, it's with the hope that something's gonna come from it. So you need the response back that's gonna be encouraging, even if it is totally wacky.
But it's trust, isn't it? It's like if there's a mutual trust, then even when the other person is in that scenario or has that feeling of being unsure, you know, I have to trust Laura ultimately, and I don't. Sometimes she has a vision and only she can see the end result.